is it down to us as field service organisations, regardless of whether we're working in aviation, defence, or even B2B to B2C, is it beholden on us as an industry to court veterans better?
There's so many aspects to that first question you asked about how does the company look more attractive to the transitioning veteran. Some of them the company can control, and some of them the company's customers need to control, but there are things the company can do about that as well. And I would also say that the problems encountered are different on either side of the pond. The problems in the United States are very different than the problems in the United Kingdom. And so they have to kind of be approached differently. In the United States, I'd say, unfortunately, particularly in the defense services industry, the American government treats service contracts, I would say, they treat brain power as a commodity, right? So in my book, I joke that the United States government basically says to its contractors, give me the lowest price brains you can possibly give me, right? Because nearly every service contract for the United States government is a price shootout. And so the only way for the contractor to win is by bidding low, and the only way they can bid low is to pay their people low. And so people that are really talented and skilled and have options don't want to work on one of those contracts because they have options. So then the company ends up having to hire what I would refer to as the least common denominator employee who's willing to accept that lowest compensation range so that the company can bid the lowest price and win the contract. And so, what can the company do about that? Because I do advise transitioning veterans be careful about joining a company that's bidding you in a low price shootout, and think really hard about whether you want to join that company. So what can the company do about that? Well, in the United States, it's all about getting to the right level in government or to Congress to make sure that the government isn't contracting with lowest price brains. I mean, that sounds ridiculous on the face of it. People chuckle when they hear me say lowest price brains, but that's exactly what's happening, right? What's going on, and if you boil it down to its fundamental, that's exactly what's going on. In the United Kingdom, I'm happy to report that doesn't happen as often as it does in the United States. Although I'm not going to tell you that the United Kingdom, the Ministry of Defense isn't price sensitive. They are price sensitive. But I think they apply a little bit more common sense than American government does, in particular because they can't afford all of the 17 levels of bureaucrats that the American government does, right? And I even talk about this in my book, that in the MOD, they're much more tied to the success of the contractor in a partnership than the United States is, where it's more like proceedings in a divorce. There's the two sides facing off in a divorce proceeding, right? Where the government's throwing at the contractor and the contractor's throwing at the government. In the United Kingdom, you don't have those 42 levels of bureaucrats whose job it is simply to be obstinate and to give the contractor a hard time and blame the contractor for failings, because when the contractor fails, the United States, the United Kingdom, and the MOT generally understands when the contractor fails, the government fails too. And I wish the United States government understood that to the degree to which the United Kingdom government does. So the first thing I would say is make sure the contract structure is appropriate, because I think the transitioning veterans are getting a little wiser to the defects in various contract structures than they were, let's say, 10, 20 years ago.